This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2014. To my immediate left is Carl Korobkin. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly.
Korobkin.
Very good, very good. VP of Business Development for Tobii Technology. Welcome to the program, Carl.
It's a pleasure to be here, Neil. Really happy to speak with you today.
So Tobii actually, they've touched on all kinds of markets. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit as to fundamentally what Tobii Technology does.
Sure. So actually Tobii, we've been around for over a decade, actually almost 12 years. And we started out in the space of producing systems for people with disabilities. So we produce eye tracking technology. So we went to a market segment where we had people who actually had an innate need to be able to control a computer through their eyes. So that's still one of our core business today. We also have the dual of that, which is we also understand the art and science of what people are looking at. So we put eye tracking in front of people for doing everything from like packaging design to web design. So understanding what people are looking at and making better products and having better experiences. And then more recently, we actually combining those technologies, so coming down in price point and size and embedding into the whole ecosystem of consumer electronics. So we'll show you some of that today, and it's pretty exciting. It's fabulous stuff you can do with the intersection of those technologies.
Now, it just amazes me how important eye tracking really is. Can you, I know you mentioned working with people who have physical challenges and so on. Can you elaborate a little bit more as to what can be communicated through the eyes that we might be taking for granted?
Sure. So fundamentally, I mean, we put a sensor in a device, and we can very quickly find your eyes and, in fact, actually build a 3D model, know exactly where you're looking accurately on a screen or a region in front of you, and then also it tracks head movement, so it's also a head tracker as well. So it's an interesting intersection of technologies. And so the thing is that you can identify things in front of you. Now, if you think about it, especially in this age where people are talking about natural user interfaces, motion, the intersection of motion and voice, and then now as we get into even the realm of like having other devices like wearables and augmented reality and all that. All of that fundamentally has to do with what you're looking at. It does. It starts with what am I looking at and then what I want to do about it. And that's the thing about eye tracking. So the first time a person comes on an eye tracker or they get a demo, they ask, okay, so when's the demo start? And you realize you're actually 3/4 of the way through it, which is you watch somebody and they're actually operating a device, but they're not moving a mouse anymore, they're not having to move their hand, they're not speaking. Things are happening. So the computer is understanding what you're looking at, anticipating what you want to do, and it allows you in a very natural, very fluid manner interact with it. So it's pretty amazing.
In your opinion, is eye tracking more efficient than, let's say, controlling with a mouse and keyboard? Is there an efficiency benefit to this?
Well, we can say that there's definitely an efficiency, but it comes down to what's the application, right? So, if I'm working with Photoshop or, some core application where I'm used to using a mouse with a certain resolution, I'm going to continue to use the mouse. So it's not like this is better or more efficient than the mouse, just as a blanket statement. But having said that, if you think about the mouse, I mean, the mouse has been around for, 50 years, right? It's a remarkable device. It has an amazing run. What does it do? It's a mechanical device that allows you to tell the computer what you're looking at. So you've already looked at it, then you actually want to click on it and do something. Now you realize that now that the computer already knows what you're looking at, you don't need the mouse. So you can think of a whole range of applications just fundamentally that there's a step now that you don't need. So, I mean, it's just that fundamental. It truly is.
Now, if memory serves, eye trackers, they weren't inexpensive pieces of equipment. They're pretty elaborate. It's not just the hardware, it's the software, I take it. But you, as you mentioned, you're going into the consumer space. What have you got cooking for gamers like me?
Well, actually, that's a great question because we're here at CES and,
GDC. But I've been making that mistake too, by the way.
Well, actually, I was going to mention CES. So just in fact, at CES a couple months ago, we announced with our partner SteelSeries a device that's coming out this summer, and it's going to be the world's first consumer eye tracker targeted towards gaming. So people walk into Best Buy or Fry's or whatever, and then we'll see on the end cap, great high-end mice, keyboards, headsets from SteelSeries, and then here's this box, which is an eye tracker, and that's going to be amazing. So now we're going to have mainstream, gamers are going to now have eye tracking experience at a price point that was inconceivable, just a handful of years ago. So pretty amazing.
So what would this product bring to a gamer? How would you differentiate the traditional gaming experience compared to what Tobii's going to bring to the table?
Well, it's twofold. So first is the out-of-box experience actually supports the hundreds of games that are already out there. So for instance, we'll do a little tour here in some of the demos, but you'll see StarCraft 2. You can actually hook up the SteelSeries Tobii eye tracker, and for instance, we take over the mini-map. So here's an example where so much of the bandwidth in that game is you looking down in a region of the screen, looking at the mini-map, moving the mouse very rapidly. So that's really like the art of like how fast you can do that. What you'll see is we actually, with just a finger on the mouse, you click and the whole screen becomes a mini-map. And then what you'll find is you automatically will look where the enemy is, where you want to go.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to try it. We're showing some footage of it.
You just let go. So actually, the highest level of flattery is that people have actually told us, well, that's actually an unfair advantage. Well, I guess we've done our job really well, because it's actually once you get, and it's very natural and it's very fluid, and so that's one example. So there's a whole cache of games that are out there that are immediately usable with the eye tracker that kind of like give you new modality about how you control the game. Now if you look forward, and you'll see some examples of this today, is what can you do if actually now you have visual contact with objects in the game and people in the game. So for instance, think about virtual reality. There's a lot of amazing stuff that's going to be coming up in the future. But once you actually get immersed in an environment, now actually I'm talking with you and I'm looking at you and I'm making a critical level of facial contact, this sort of social interaction. But if I actually was conducting this interview and looking up at the ceiling there, that'd be pretty awkward. So what you'll see going forward is that people now will actually be looking at characters, they'll be looking back. Another example, in a soccer game, the head fake. You're going up, you go to score the goal, the goalie's reading your face, he's reading your body movements, you're looking in this direction, you're shooting that direction. Chances are if he's doing his job, he's going to anticipate that and block the goal. Whereas you look over here and shoot there, voila. So this level of immersion now of having eye contact, the computer knowing where you're looking, the game knowing where you're looking, opens up a whole new realm of immersion it opens up stuff that people only dreamed of possible, years ago.
So I'm gathering, I could completely see how this would work with traditional games. I understand that you have a solution for off-the-shelf games that you could get working right away. Can you elaborate a little bit more about it?
The traditional off-the-shelf games?
Yes, if you were to get them working right away with Tobii.
Sure. So basically, out of the box, if you have the game, there's a little file that comes with it that basically, you own StarCraft, you own Deus Ex, you own World of Warcraft, Civilization. It works with the eye tracker. We've actually already kind of connected it so that you can customize it also. So you can play the game, and then certain buttons and levels and things like that, overlays, selections, and that are all. You can all control through a combination of your eyes and still with the mouse. And that's the other point too, is like, here's a case where you use the mouse, the game's designed to use the mouse, but there are extra side keys on the mouse that you'll use and will interact with those things so that you'll be able to do things like that. Other things, for example, like I just mentioned, overlays. But a lot of this is going to be customizable. So what we expect is that just as you buy a professional mouse today and you take the engine for the mouse, like the SteelSeries engine, you customize it, people will also be customizing their gameplay about how they actually leverage in certain levels of the game. The other cool thing is another amazing thing that we're coming out with, which speaks to this intersection of who we are as a company, Tobii, and the tradition of what we've built. I mentioned this, the whole analysis part of things. So it isn't just that we allow you to control a device through your eyes, we understand what you're looking at. So we're coming out with a product called a game analyzer. So you're playing StarCraft, and in real time you can actually follow your gaze trace, so you can see where you're looking. But you can record that, and then actually when you're done, you can replay that and it gives you stats. So if you actually were focusing on the mini-map down here, you're focusing over there, and so this actually opens up a dimension of analysis from eye tracking that people have been done for years.
From what I'm seeing so far, this seems to be targeted more for like desktop computers, like for traditional computer monitors, unless I'm mistaken. Do you have products that are targeted for VR devices like head-mounted displays or helmets? Because we're seeing a lot of growth in that area right now, especially here at GDC.
Oh, absolutely, that's a great question, Neil. Actually, in fact, Tobii launched the world's first consumer-level wearable eye tracking in 2011. And in fact, that's a product that we ship today for our analysis business. So we have an eye tracker, or the scene camera, and you go to Tobii.com and you can see Tobii glasses. And so we continue to innovate, and not in the too distant future we'll have a next generation of that. But as you've seen, as our business goes, we're taking those core technologies and then we're getting them the form factor to be able to embed into broader consumer devices. So you clearly can expect that Tobii will be a key player as an ingredient for a lot of the types of devices that people are talking about when it comes to wearables.
Now, you have a personal history that goes well beyond Tobii Technology. I understand that you are one of the founders of a very major standards organization. I'm going to name it. I'm going to let you name it. What's your history here?
So I am one of the co-founding members of Chronos OpenGL group, and it was not by any accident. It was purely by design. And I had the good fortune to be able to hook up with Neil Trevitt and a group of other key folks to kind of help move that forward. Background-wise, actually, he was one of the early people at Silicon Graphics back in the day, and we pioneered a lot in the 3D graphics space, did awesome stuff, and then we had a closed API. We had this thing called IrisGL. And we realized in order to take it to the next level and to grow the ecosystem and to get more developers and so forth, we opened that up, and that was what became OpenGL. So, around in 2000 timeframe, I moved into the mobile space, and so it was very nascent, but people were now talking about, hey, I want to do 3D mobile gaming on cell phones. And so I got deeply involved with that, and that was the sort of the impetus, because at that time, there was a conversation from people in that realm, which was, hey, we'll go build out some private APIs, and we're going to conquer the world and all that. So I think what we were able to accomplish early on there was to get an API standard effort established very early on, and I think the fruits of that, which we're all very happy about, OpenGL has become the de facto standard for 3D in mobile.
Now, in the VR world, or in the immersive technology world, which, by the way, you're part of, all kinds of products are coming to fruition now. I mean, I don't need to name them. Everybody knows who they are. What are your thoughts on if not organizations, eventual standards? Is this something that's going to be necessary one day? Like, what are your thoughts on where the industry should go?
Well, I mean, given my background, I think you're probably. My answer is going to be fairly obvious, which is I think, yes, at some point. And of course, it's all relative in terms of like how the industry is moving forward and adoption and so forth. The example I gave with you with, kind of where we were at 3D at the time and the growth of that, we were clearly at the point where we had an industry with mobile 3D moving. It had to move forward, and there was no way. I mean, we would take a number of steps backwards if we actually didn't learn what happened in that space and move it forward. So I think, just generically speaking, I'm a big fan of open standards in terms of what it can do to gel the ecosystem, to get the different providers together, everything from the core, hardware providers, silicon and all that, to the development environment, and create a richer experience for consumers.
Excellent, excellent. An honor. And I'm very excited about your product, and we've tried it out. Excellent stuff here, and thank you so much for joining me here.
Pleasure. Yeah, it's great to be here with you. Really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Very good. So this is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV, GDC 2014. Thank you for watching.